Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening, these are the headlines.
In an exclusive interview with UTV, Sinn Féin Vice President Michelle O'Neill says she hasn't ruled herself out of the Irish presidential campaign.
We've been very clear from the outset that we would make our decision known on the 20th. That's still the view. I'm not going to change that just because people are, trying to weigh up whether I will or I won't.
A man appears in court charged with the murder of Chrissy Burns in Mount Norris.
And the Education Minister asks department officials to scrap controversial transgender guidance for schools.
Also tonight, roars for Rory as he claims his second Irish Open title in a dramatic playoff.
And after seeing some sunshine for us today, is also a scattering of showers as we go through the next few days. Join me later in the programme. We'll have the full week ahead forecast coming up.
Michelle O'Neill has refused to rule herself out of the Irish presidential election. The Sinn Féin Vice President was speaking after her party leader, Mary Lou McDonald, announced that she would not be standing.
The First Minister said her party would continue to weigh up its options and would make its decision when the party's Ard Comhairle meets in a fortnight's time. Michelle O'Neill was speaking exclusively to our political editor, Tracy McGee, on Stormont's first day back. And Tracy began by asking her whether she intended to stand.
Well, I think Mary Lou's made her position clear. I think it was important to do so, just given the polls over the weekend and expectation was rising in relation to herself. But we've said from day one that we would make our decision known on the 20th of September because we have internal processes to go through. So we're still in that process. We've only got another short number of days actually until we get to the conclusion, but it's important that the party as a whole gets listened to and that all those views are factored into our decision.
But Mary Lou said today that the reason why she isn't standing is because she wants to lead the government, lead the party into government in an election that's going to take place in 2030. You're in government now, and what you're talking about is another fortnight of will she, won't she? I mean, where's that going to leave stability?
Well, I think that we've been very clear from the outset that we would make our decision known on the 20th. That's still the view. I'm not going to change that just because people are, trying to weigh up whether I will or I won't. I am First Minister here. I am absolutely committed to my role in terms of making politics work here, delivering for people on a day-to-day basis. That remains my focus, but the party has to do its due diligence in terms of our own decision making.
But if the project is about keeping government parties out of the Áras, surely Sinn Féin, as the main party of opposition, should stand a candidate.
These are all the factors that we will weigh up. I mean, I think the polls at the weekend show that there's good support for the party to run in the election. But again, we will weigh all of that up, every piece of information in front of the party's Ard Comhairle on the 20th, and then we'll come out publicly and make our decision known.
Okay, well, any particular reason today that you're doing this interview on your own, given that it's the first day back for Stormont, should you not be doing this with the Deputy First Minister?
Well, we did a joint press conference at the end of last week after our executive meeting, and we'll do so after all of our executive meetings. Today, I just wanted to do the media because we are obviously into a new term, if you like, a new political session. Everybody's focused on delivery, back to rolling up our sleeves and actually delivering and advancing some of the things that we've been able to advance to this point.
How would you describe relations? Because the word was before the summer that they weren't great.
I think things are fine. I think things are, as any four-party coalition would be, at times challenging. I think when you have four parties with very different outlooks, you're always going to have challenge to manage, but that's part of the leadership of the executive itself. I think we have to navigate our way through those things. I think we do so effectively. Will we have disagreements? Yes, we will. But I think we need to move away from the point where every time there's a political disagreement that there's a fear that perhaps the institutions are going to collapse. That's not the case.
Well, you might not want to collapse Stormont, but surely good relations means that there'll be better delivery. And Sinn Féin hasn't really played its part in terms of good relations either. You did an interview during the summer in the Belfast Telegraph and you talked about, you had a bit of a go at Emma Little-Pengelly saying that you're in control of your ship, you make the decisions, you don't think that that's the same across the board. That's not very fair, is it? Emma's not the leader of her party, neither are you for that matter.
I am First Minister and an executive, and I am determined to make this executive work. You're taking a comment out of a wider interview, so it's important for context.
But it's an important comment. You're questioning her ability to make decisions.
Well, I can just say to you, for my part, what I do. I lead the team. I am the one that makes the decisions. I work with my whole team. Obviously, we have to weigh things up, different priorities at different times. But that's what I am here to do, is to lead my team, but also to make the executive work and to work with Emma Little-Pengelly and others around that executive table.
I don't want to labour this one, Michelle, but look, here's the fact of the matter. You're in a four-party coalition, and so relationships really, really matter. You're calling for your DUP colleague Gordon Lyons to resign before the summer. He's now taking your Sinn Féin Minister for Infrastructure to court. None of that says good relationships to me.
It says that there are difficulties, and at different times there may be different emphasis on difficulties. Look, I came into this executive with my eyes very much wide open. I knew that who we were going into the executive with. We know the DUP, we know that we're fundamentally diametrically opposed on many issues, but I also do genuinely believe that in the middle there's also issues where we can work together on the day-to-day things like housing and childcare and all the other things that we want to tackle.
Do you still want him to resign?
No, I made those points at the time because I fundamentally, and I still fundamentally disagree with what he did and what he said on social media, which I believe was flaming tensions even more in Ballymena.
He doesn't need to resign now.
Well, I made my point at the time. He's taken his own counsel in terms of what he wants to do. But that was months ago, Tracy. I am here in this executive because I want to make it work. There will always be differences. That's okay.
But differences aren't
let's
about
manage
calling
the differences.
for resignation. That's a different thing entirely.
I felt that strongly about that. I find that actually absolutely disgraceful.
So he doesn't need to do it now?
No, I've made my point known, and he's also in return made his view that he is not going anywhere. I will work with him. I will work with all of the ministers around the executive table. That's our duty. We're obliged to work together, but sometimes whenever we differ, we should try to manage the difference as best as we can.
Well, as you heard, Michelle O'Neill was keen in her interview with Tracy to make clear Stormont was determined to deliver. But as MLAs returned after the summer break, the SDLP has claimed the executive is comatose and failing to deliver on key issues.
The Deputy First Minister, Emma Little-Pengelly, has hit back by defending the executive's record. Our political correspondent Vicky Hawthorne reports.
The first day back, and the parties want to show they're ready for the year ahead. However, the differences of opinion from the last year remain, with the Deputy First Minister confirming she will accept an invitation to attend a state banquet for the US President Donald Trump next week, while the First Minister, Michelle O'Neill, will not.
From my point of view, I engage with people, politicians, leaders, right from all different shades of political opinion. And as far as I'm concerned, this isn't about what I personally feel about them. It's not even about what my view is about their political opinion. It is about me being in this role and stepping up and showing that leadership and engaging with people where there is a particular interest and importance for Northern Ireland.
Elsewhere, the SDLP used the start of the new term to accuse the executive of failing and to set it homework to demonstrate where it is making a difference.
In relation to delivery, we've set 6 tests for you. One of them is a very specific one. Will work be undertaken, will work have begun on a rebuilt Casement Park by the end of this mandate?
The Deputy First Minister was firm in hitting back.
I know that the member constantly goes back to Casement while dismissing and demeaning everybody else for the particular issues that they question. But the reality is on health, on education, on trying to grow the economy, on championing Northern Ireland, it is the DUP ministers that have stepped up to do that time and time again. And this is an executive across all parties that will be pushing as hard as possible to deliver for the people of Northern Ireland against our programme for government priorities.
There was a hangover too from issues which had developed over the summer. The Health Minister was called to answer an urgent oral question from the DUP to explain his decision to review gender identity services in Northern Ireland after he had already allocated £800,000 to the provision.
It was to tackle the misinformation from people like Mr Buckley, Mr Speaker, that I decided that the best way to assure ourselves whether the gender identity service that we offer is CAS compliant is to bring in an independent expert to review it. And who is better as the independent expert than Dr Cass?
Other issues, from the Windsor Framework to special educational needs, were also discussed in the Assembly today. There is perhaps now a sense among the parties that they need to demonstrate real progress on things that matter to the public, because it won't be long before someone mentions the word election. Vicky Hawthorne, UTV Live, Stormont.
One minister who has been taking action and courting controversy is the Education Minister, Paul Givan. He's announced that transgender guidance for schools has been removed, claiming the policy is inconsistent with the law here.
However, the First Minister, Michelle O'Neill, says the Education Minister has put the cart before the horse and that he should have waited for the Equality Commission to carry out detailed work to ensure consistency across public services. Jordan Motes reports.
This is the court ruling that was celebrated by some but criticised by others. The Supreme Court ruled in April that the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex. The ramifications are wide-reaching. The Education Minister Paul Givan citing the ruling as a reason for requesting the withdrawal of transgender guidance by the Education Authority.
We already had legislation in 1973 around this particular issue, having received legal advice from senior counsel. That EA guidance is unlawful, therefore it's important that that is withdrawn. But we also had the UK Supreme Court judgment in April of this year, which affirmed that the Equality Act of 2010 has to be interpreted as meaning the biological sex for male and female. And therefore it would be irresponsible for our schools and our education system to be operating on the basis of guidance which is unlawful and which is contrary to the UK Supreme Court.
The guidance from the EA was introduced 6 years ago in 2019. While it wasn't binding on schools, it was described as the best practice. Campaigners here don't agree with the decision to remove that guidance.
The guidance that has just been revoked was a really good baseline for how schools can begin to support their trans pupils. To withdraw the whole thing is extremely, I would say, callous.
April's ruling is on the 2010 Equality Act, which applies in Great Britain but not in Northern Ireland. The Equality Commission here says the ruling creates significant legal uncertainties and is seeking a declaration from the High Court to give long-term clarity and certainty. The First Minister believes the Education Minister shouldn't have acted now.
I think it's maybe the cart before the horse. I think that the Supreme Court made its ruling clear. The Equality Commission here are doing a detailed piece of work. We need to be compassionate here. Trans people feel under attack, so I think it's important that we're both consistent and compassionate. I would much prefer that the approach of all ministers is to wait till the Equality Commission does its work and then we have that consistent approach across all of public services. Unfortunately, he's taken a step to move forward in advance of that.
Among the areas where delivery is woeful is in special educational needs. Outside today, kids and their families are protesting for basic services. While today the Education Minister isn't delivering that, he's issuing a page of peremptory guidance which will make other vulnerable kids feel anxious and nervous.
It's clear this is a complicated issue. A ruling from the highest court in the UK was supposed to give clarity, but it's left more questions than answers for Northern Ireland. Jordan Motes, UTV Live.
And coming up on View from Stormont, an extended version of Tracy's interview with the Sinn Féin Vice President. We'll also be joined by the Education Minister, Paul Givan, to respond to the issues we've just been hearing about. That's at 11:15 tonight here on UTV.
A 39-year-old man has appeared at Newry Magistrates Court, charged with the murder of Christopher Burns. Aaron McAnulty, who has an address in Mount Norris, County Armagh, is accused of the killing last week. Tori Watson reports.
Christopher John Burns was found dead at a property in Cusher Green in Mount Norris last Thursday morning. Mr Burns, who was in his 40s, had suffered serious head and facial injuries. Originally from Warren Point, he had lived in the property for a number of years. Today, 39-year-old Aaron McAnulty, also with an address at Cusher Green, appeared before Newry Magistrates Court. The County Armagh man is accused of murdering Mr Burns between the 3rd and 4th of September this year. When asked if he understood the charges against him, he replied, yeah. A police detective confirmed to the court that she believed she could connect Mr McAnulty to the charges. No application was made for bail. The accused will next appear before the court on the 30th of September. Tori Watson, UTV Live.
Some of the rest of today's news in brief now, and a 46-year-old man has been charged with making and possessing explosives following a security operation in South Belfast. William McCune from Bentham Drive near Sandy Row was remanded into custody. He's also accused of having a firearm and ammunition in suspicious circumstances and possessing drugs.
A royal gun salute has taken place in County Armagh to mark the 3rd anniversary of the accession of King Charles to the throne. The ceremonial gunfire echoed across the playing fields of the Royal School Armagh as part of a series of ceremonies held across the UK honouring the occasion. The school was chosen for the commemoration because of its role in fostering loyalty and service to the Crown.
Time now to look at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Geraint Vincent.
The public inquiry into the Southport stabbings reopens. Impact statements from survivors and victims' families are heard, while the relatives of the 3 young girls killed in the attack say the inquiry must leave no stone unturned. Prince Harry is back in the UK, but will there be time for a reconciliation with his family? And the duo behind We're Going on a Bear Hunt drop in for story time. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
The Ministry of Defence has confirmed that it will not take part in a jobs fair in Londonderry tomorrow. The issue caused a row within Derry City and Strabane District Council when the majority of councillors said that they wouldn't welcome the Army's participation.
Well, we can cross live now to our Northwest correspondent, Gareth Wilkinson. Gareth.
Well, Paul, this jobs fair is organised by the Department for Communities, but the venue is the Foyle Arena. Now, that's run by the council, and because the MOD was listed as one of the employers, councillors at a recent meeting over there in the Guildhall were asked for their opinion. Now, the Army has come to this decision today not to take part because of the strength of feeling voiced in the nationalist-dominated chamber. Now, that's disappointed the DUP leader. In fact, Gavin Robinson is angry, and he says cross-community based funding to this council should be cut because of the attitude displayed by nationalist representatives.
When they have the opportunity through majoritarianism to exercise discrimination and prejudice, I think it's right that it's called out.
Now, it's not often that Sinn Féin agree with an MOD decision. That is the case on this occasion, but they say a shadow has been cast over the event.
3 employers have withdrew from the jobs fair tomorrow. We do know that there's been Department of Community staff have raised their concerns and their unease around the issues that have been associated with this.
Well, the jobs fair will get underway tomorrow morning. The Army has pulled out, but this war of words has continued.
Gareth Wilkinson, thank you. The Infrastructure Minister has announced the planned reopening of Durham Street in Belfast by the end of November. Its closure has caused major disruption in the city centre.
Liz Kimmins was speaking earlier at Grand Central Station, which marks its first year in operation. The Sinn Féin MLA also said that she's not changed her mind about having Irish language signs at the station, despite a legal challenge being supported by DUP Minister Gordon Lyons. Sarah Clark reports.
A celebratory mood at Belfast Grand Central Station this morning as it marked its first year in operation. The Infrastructure Minister announcing an early Christmas present with the planned reopening of Durham Street ahead of the festive rush.
And that includes the reopening of Durham Street, which has caused significant delays over the last year, and we recognise that. So that is planned to go ahead for the end of November, and I hope that will make a huge difference for the city centre.
No, it'll be massive for people, both in terms of accessibility. Obviously, we'll have drop-off zones at Durham Street for both taxi ranks and for general public to use. We'll be starting to open up cycle routes as well, better pedestrian access. So it will totally change this whole area.
Even after this news today, they will still be sceptical. When they see the bridge, when they see the road opened, by the way, it'll be Boynbridge Place, Durham Street. When they see it opened, then that's when they'll believe it.
A legal challenge opposing Irish language signs at the transport hub, supported by DUP Minister Gordon Lyons, is also still causing controversy. It was due in the High Court again today. But the Sinn Féin Minister insists she has not changed her position in support of them.
I hope that we can see a positive resolution to the issue. It's very important that the culture and heritage of all of our island is reflected in a huge hub like this, the biggest on this island.
Away from the controversies, TransLink say there has been an additional 4 million journeys on the wider public transport network since Grand Central opened, and an increase in cross-border enterprise journeys of 40%. They also claim that user satisfaction is at 96%.
Smooth, it couldn't go any better. Very, very good.
More than good, 100%.
Oh, this is beautiful, very good, yes.
So overall a challenging year, one in which not everyone has been able to have their cake and eat it too. Sarah Clark, UTV Live.
And now here's Ruth Gorman with the sport.
What a signing! John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Good evening. We start tonight with news from Ulster Rugby that General Manager Bryn Cunningham is set to leave after 28 years with the club. He first came into the club as a player and went on to become part of the senior management. Cunningham is leaving for a new challenge but will remain in his role until a successor is found. Now, Rory McIlroy celebrated with his family and friends as he lifted the Irish Open title for a second time at the K Club in County Kildare. It was McIlroy's fourth victory of the season and his first since securing the Grand Slam at this year's Masters in April. It's a timely boost ahead of the Ryder Cup in 2 weeks' time. The Open at Portrush was billed the homecoming for our Grand Slam champion, but this was the homecoming of dreams for Rory McIlroy. Back at the K Club where he won his first Irish Open title 9 years ago, and he did it all over again, only this time in more dramatic fashion. Starting the day 4 shots off the lead, McIlroy dropped a shot at the first, but fought his way back into contention and eagled the last hole with this dramatic putt to force a playoff with Lagergren. They played the 18th hole again 3 times until a winner emerged. When Lagergren found the water at the 3rd time, it was advantage McIlroy. He almost eagled again, but a birdie was enough to seal his second Irish Open at the K Club.
Yeah, look, I feel just so lucky that I get to do this. I get to do this in front of these people. The support has been absolutely amazing all week, and I thought it was going to be a nice homecoming, obviously coming home with a green jacket and all that, but this has been absolutely incredible. This has exceeded all of my expectations, and just so happy I could play the way I did this week for all of them and get the win.
The week started with a treat for the crowds as Rory wore the green jacket during a Q&A, and it ended with an even bigger treat as they celebrated their Grand Slam champion winning his home Open. Amazing scenes at the K Club. Now, it wasn't to be for Northern Ireland last night. Despite drawing 1-1 with Germany until the 68th minute, Michael O'Neill's men fell 3-1 in Cologne. The result leaves them second in the table on 3 points. They'll face Slovakia and Germany at Windsor Park next month. Meanwhile, the Republic of Ireland came back from 2 goals down to secure a draw against Hungary. Daniel Duffy reports.
I think the goals are killers for different reasons. I think they're all preventable. And yeah, it's a disappointing night, but yeah, we've got to take a look back at it and in a few weeks get back together and obviously regroup and go again.
Meanwhile, on Saturday, the Republic of Ireland were on the back foot.
Ireland fell to a disappointing 40-0 defeat to world champions New Zealand at the Women's World Cup in Brighton yesterday. After winning their opening 2 pool games, it was a step too far for Scott Beeman's side, who now face France in the quarter-finals this Sunday. Finally, Michael Conlon won his comeback fight against Jack Bateson in the 3 Arena in Dublin over the weekend after a 6th round knockout. He's hoping for another shot at a world title next year. That's your sport this Monday. Bye for now.
What a signing! John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Now, what's coming our way over the next few days?
Chris Page has the weather forecast.
Feel-good weather is set to continue throughout the day. UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grant Irona R290 heat pump.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. There has been some welcome sunshine at times through much of today, but into this afternoon, some rather sharp showers did develop, and we've still got showers to come as we go through the week ahead, mixed in with some bright and sunny skies. Rain or showers, some of that could be quite heavy and thundery in places, turning blustery as we work towards the end of the week as well, and for all of us, gradually turning a little bit cooler as well. This is the earlier satellite and radar picture. You can see a fine start for many to begin with this morning before the showers gradually work their way way in from the west. Some of those have been fairly heavy in places, and as we go over the coming few hours, the showers just gradually tending to fade away, leaving us with a mostly dry night. Now, there will be some clear skies for a time too. The cloud just creeping in across southern counties by dawn tomorrow morning, but otherwise, apart from that brisk southeasterly breeze towards the east coast, I think for many we'll start with temperatures in around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius. Now, as for Tuesday, there will be some bright spells at first, but into the afternoon, just very quickly, some strong southeasterly winds starting to develop, really pushing the showers on inland, I should say, as we move through the latter stages of Tuesday. More cloud into the afternoon for many as well, but temperatures a step down on where they have been through today, just 17 to 19 degrees Celsius at best. As for the rest of Ireland, much the same really, with some bright and sunny skies. Top temperatures of 16 to 20 degrees Celsius. The best of that sunshine, though, likely towards the far southwest. As we work through the rest of the week, areas of low pressure pulling off the Atlantic, bringing more outbreaks of rain or showers at times, and those showers could be fairly gusty at times too. Take care.
UTV weather, sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
Well, that's it this Monday, the 8th of September. Our late bulletin will be at 10:30, just before View from Stormont.
The ITV News continues with Grant Vincent, from Rose, from me and the rest of the Tea Time team. Good evening.
Good evening.